Hi, everyone.
It's me, Emily.
I'm Kevin.
This is Viva Physical Media episode 43, if you can believe it. This is Kevin's penultimate episode.
We're gonna have a full Baconator for the final episode, though.
Oh, I'm excited. We have a guest director this episode. Bonjour. It's Sophie.
Sophie's behind the camera. Hi. That was for Sophie.
So if you find the episode like seeming like a little more French, it's probably because it's just Sophie directed it. What do we got to talk about today? I was camping this weekend, so I didn't really watch any movies.
What's your favorite camping movie?
My favorite camping movie?
Yeah, like one, where they're,
I don't know, like Just Before Dawn.
There you go.
something fucked up.
That wasn't that
hard. I know, you just scared me a little. I wasn't ready.
What? Excuse me? And
Camping
it was, like, super easy.
movie?
Yeah,
What's
camping
yours?
movie. I don't know.
Yeah, see? I just said the first one that I liked that came into my brain, and you can't even think of one.
I like Cabin Fever still.
I
Not
love
as much as I
Cabin
used to,
Fever.
yeah.
I do love it.
Moonrise Kingdom, the camping tent.
Oh yeah, that's cute.
That's pretty cute. That's a good
what
one.
about the camping scene in The Parent Trap, but the remake?
I haven't seen the remake.
What about the camping scene? What about the camping scene in Temple of Doom?
Oh yeah,
where she gets all the stuff like thrown on her from off screen, all the like rubber snakes and spiders and shit. Love it. Temple of Doom, favorite Indiana Jones movie.
Underrated scene. That's a great scene.
It's a good scene.
Really funny, and they're like playing cards and just not paying attention to her the whole time. Like, this lady.
It's like
right?
so slapsticky. I love it. Oh, it's so good.
It's Monday.
Oh yeah, we're also filming on a weird day, so it's Monday. So we just had our weekend.
But it's good because we had our big parking lot sale this weekend.
Check the shirt.
Check the shirt. We still have these for sale. These are from the posters. We have the posters for sale too, but it's the Will's awesome drawing of the parking lot sale,
really
and it's got like.
Did you say we have posters?
It's got on the back, so it's got a key because these are all this stuff is like movie references. We have posters of it too.
Okay, cool.
It does not have the key on the back of the posters, but it does have this image. It still looks. It's a cool yellow peachy folder style.
Yeah.
Underground cartoon kind of style.
Very
thing.
Cool.
So we still have these for sale, but yeah, we had a big old parking lot sale. I'll put up a picture right here of some of it.
There's still time to get tickets if you're interested in seeing a Viva hosted bingo at the Beacon.
Yep.
On July 28th.
I do have 2 boxes of bingo trading cards, so every ticket sold will get at least 1 pack of bingo trading cards.
And there's still that idea of making bingo, but we're working on it.
Oh, we're doing bingo too.
Okay.
It's gonna happen.
So if you want to come hang out with us, you're in the Seattle area, or you feel like taking a road trip to the Seattle area to see bingo, go to thebeacon.film for tickets. We'll link it below. We'll flash the poster.
Yeah.
Made by Megan at Ghouls Only Press. She did an awesome job.
I don't know if the bingo screened in any theater since 1990, and probably that only for like a weekend, and then they were like, oh, nobody went to see this. Let's get this out of here.
This is going to be the biggest crowd seeing bingo since the release.
It might be the biggest crowd ever.
2-for-1 Wednesdays are back at Scarecrow. If you didn't hear the news. You have to be in store browsing to take advantage of the deal. So you can't call or do it online or whatever, but it's like the olden days. You rent one movie, you get one free of equal or lesser value, and up to 10.
And don't forget to check out OperationBigfoot.com.
Yeah.
The links are below.
You could get 10 Bigfoot movies for the price of one, or price of 5, excuse me.
2-for-1 Wednesday.
That was crazy math. Or you can get 5 Bigfoot movies and then 5 movies from the Viva Physical Media section that we have behind us.
Should we do the show?
Should we just start the show?
Yeah, let's do the show.
Let's start show.
All right. We'll see you at the show.
So we watch movies here, we watch TV, and we also read books.
We also read books.
So it's been a little bit. This is another book club segment.
I wanted to do, because I read the book that you recommended, I think was the last book club?
Probably.
Was the Final Girls Support Group?
Yeah.
Which is great. I highly recommend it to anybody.
Check it out. Grady
I mean,
Hendrix.
it's a horror book, and it's pretty gnarly at times.
So if you can handle it.
I mean, some people aren't in the mood for a horror
book club?
horror terrifying books. I'm just saying. I don't know. Some people.
That's okay.
I'm pointing at you,
You're
the
really
audience.
Calling her out right now.
I'm pointing at the people that are watching, but also maybe like some people. Some people in this room are maybe would be like, I don't know if that's the book for me. But It's a great book.
I haven't read a lot of like horror books before.
I've read quite a few.
Read a lot. I mean, I've read like I've read like Shirley Jackson and like.
You should read some Jack Ketchum if you can.
Yeah.
The Off Season and Offspring.
Okay.
They're so good.
Pretty scary.
Oh yeah, messed up. It's all about.
I mean, I've read a lot of V.C. Andrews and that stuff, so a little unnerving.
But Final Girl Support Group.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great. It's so good.
It's
totally movie related. And the whole time I was reading it, I was getting annoyed that they're making these legacy sequels with like these people, you know, that are like the Halloween Legacy sequel and the Texas Chainsaw ones, but just like that, like I'm reading that book going like, this is the movie they should be making.
They should. I hope they do. Maybe.
I don't think they can. I mean, I was reading it and I'm like, they'll get sued so hard.
Yeah.
Unless they've somehow figure out a Who Framed Roger Rabbit way to like get the rights to all of those film franchises, they'll get sued so hard when they just start
referencing.
Just because it's like Texas Chainsaw, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. It's just like
Halloween,
And they have different names, sure, but it's like
it's the same plot and everything.
It's the same plot and everything, yes. But great book.
Yeah,
anyway,
check that one out.
I checked it out. And,
you should read his other book, My Best Friend's Exorcism.
Oh yeah, I plan to.
It's really good.
Yeah. But
we have new books to talk about.
Yeah, we've been reading.
I've been reading more than I usually do, which is good.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
It's because Kevin's always like, let's do book club, and I'm like, Kevin, what? How do you do this? I can't. But you know what? I'm gonna go first.
Long story short, I read books while I watch movies.
Yeah, Kevin's insane. I have to like go into my room and like light a candle. I have to romance myself a little to like read a book, like dim the lights, but like. Anyways, I can't be just willy-nilly about my book reading. But here is the book that I have been reading. I have one chapter left. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I haven't finished this yet. But I do only have like 20 pages left out of like 250. So it's fine, it counts. This book's called Films of Endearment, A Mother, a Son, and the 80s Films That Defined Us. And it's by Michael Koreski.
I was just looking. I was seeing this.
Yeah, this book is super good. It's about this guy's relationship with his mom and how he decides to do a project with his elderly mom who lives alone now. His dad died, so she lives alone in their like childhood home that he grew up in. So he goes and visits her a couple times a month, and once a month he decides to do a project with her where they picked a decade, which was the 80s, and he picks a movie from each decade or from each year in the 80s that they watch together, and then they kind of have a conversation, and he learns a little bit more about his mom, and they connect with her feelings on the movie and his feelings on the movie, and then what the movie represented in society as a whole. So they talk about like 9 to 5, they talk about baby boom, and they're very like female front leading lady movies. They talk about like crossing Delancey and like kind of relate it back to their Jewish upbringing and everything. And so it's really good because it's a memoir, but it's also film criticism. They watched Aliens together. And so like each chapter is another year and another movie. And he kind of gives a background of himself growing up, and he gives a background of the movie, and then he kind of gives a background of his mom and her life and what she felt watching the movie and how she related to it. And it's very, very sweet and really heart-wrenching and like just good feel-good stuff.
Dang.
So yeah,
Sounds awesome.
I definitely recommend it. On the back, it's interesting. There's all these reviews, and then there's like randomly like Ari Aster reviewed it.
Weird.
One of our most generous and engaged critics, Koreski, has written a beautiful book that is at once deeply touching and open-hearted tribute to his relationship with his mother and an ardent love letter to studio filmmaking. Ari Aster, director of Hereditary and Midsummer.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
He's hot stuff right now. So.
He is. He's hot stuff.
Is he coming out ever?
Probably.
Okay, cool.
I don't see why not. So yeah, this is really good. It's kind of breezy reading. A lot of great 80s movies are highlighted in this, like ones that I'm like, oh yeah, I should go back and watch
Terms of Endearment?
Yep, Terms of Endearment's in here. And then there's like other ones that are just like mentioned, like 70s movies like Nashville and now I'm just like reading it. But I don't know. There's all these like little anecdotes and stuff, and it's just really good. Like half memoir, half film criticism. It's like the way I like to read my shit. So check it out, Films of Endearment.
Cool. I will check it out. I remember when I moved to after I was out of high school, I moved to California, and I remember watching Terms of Endearment with my mom like a few days before I left, and I just remember being like very emotional because it's all about this daughter leaving and mom and stuff, and it was like, and it wasn't the exact same relationship with us as the mom and daughter in the movie, of course, but it was like, oh, this is very weird. I moved back like a year later or something, so no big deal. So she didn't miss me for long, but
you're like, and that's the last time I ever talked to her.
No, I talked to her like a week ago.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I again cheated because it's my way. And also,
we've all grown to accept it.
I'm on my way out, and I can do whatever the fuck I want.
It's our show.
It's our show.
Yeah.
Come on.
Why not?
But my first book of 2 is called The Other Hollywood.
This book just looks cool.
It is a big fat. I got the hardback because it was actually cheaper than the trade paperback version.
Weird. In what world?
I don't know. At Powell's in Portland, it was cheaper to order the hardback. And this is another oral history. I've talked about some other oral histories, but this is all about the porn industry, starting from like the 50s until whenever it ends in like the late 90s. The book came out in like 2006. It kind of just ends at some
Weird
point.
that it ends in 2006 because I feel like...
Well, that's when the book came out, but it ends in like the late 90s.
Yeah, but it is weird to read something from that about the porn industry because there's so much that's been...
Oh, it's so different. It's so different
I bet that's kind of weird, yeah.
A little, but I mean, a lot of the best stuff is before the 90s.
The best porn.
Like, the best stuff in the book.
The real good stuff.
Maybe
before
the best.
The 90s.
Maybe the best stuff in the. I don't know. Maybe that's. I don't know. That's up to what. That's subjective.
Yeah, it's up to you.
It's a cool story. It's just all. It's all these different people from throughout the start of porn until now, and a lot of people. Sharon Mitchell, who's recently had a documentary thing that I remember showed at the Beacon. She's in there a ton, and she's the person at the end of the book she's one of the people who is running like she has like a crazy history. Look her up, but she had like was running like the HIV testing. She's one of the people who like kind of got that really started in the porn industry in the 90s. And but before that, it's all like about Deep Throat and Marilyn Chambers and all these people, and of course John Holmes. There's a whole section on the Wonderland murders, which I didn't really know a lot about.
Oh yeah,
was actually more fucked up than I thought. I was like, ooh. So it's weird. It's weird how this book is like it's like it's about the porn industry, so it's a lot of these people talking about that, but like. A lot of it is almost like a true crime, because it's a lot of these. First of all,
so much seedy shit happened behind those doors.
Yeah, there's a lot of murders, and also like because it sort of goes on tangents and going like, oh, these mob guys are involved, tangentially with that, and they're getting murdered, and sometimes it's like related to the porn industry, and sometimes it's just like you just kind of wanted to write about this mob guy getting murdered, so you talk to these people.
But, I mean, I don't blame you.
You left that in this book or whatever. Some of the law stuff gets a little tedious at times, just because it's like, and like the FBI guys who are in here
this is a real
are
fucking
such
tome of a book.
Yeah, the FBI guys come off like the biggest squares ever, where they're just like, no, it's just sort of like, but there's these like guys who go undercover in the porn industry for like years, these FBI guys, and one of them comes out and he has like dual personality basically, because he's like been this one guy for so many years that he can't go back into his normal life and stuff. So it's really fascinating stories and look, and I like the oral history.
It's so crazy because I still have not read any of these oral history books. And you've talked about so many of them.
I'll give you some.
Yeah. I mean, but now that's what I'm looking for. Like, I went to Half Price Books the other day and looked at their film section, and I was like looking for some of these. There wasn't any there right then, but
it's a fun way. I think that it can become. I think that depending on like this one's a little, like I said, it's. I think it's great, but it's also becomes a little like.
Tedious, yeah.
Just when they're talking about some of these guys who went in and out of prison and stuff.
Right.
Okay, whatever. It's a little like, just gets.
It's like listening to a guy tell a story.
Exactly. But it's really interesting, and I think it's a really cool book, and I can't remember how it came up, but I'd been wanting to read it for a long time, and then I just was like, oh yeah, I think I'd read those other oral histories, and this one got mentioned somewhere. I was like, oh yeah, I'll read that.
Yeah,
it's very cool. Yeah, and it is pretty.
That's big. A cool looking book.
Pretty big. So yeah, see?
Jesus, can you just break the floor of Scarecrow?
Check out The Other Hollywood. And my other book today this is actually Sophie's book. And then I read it, and I love this book. This is my favorite. This is probably my favorite Charles Bukowski book.
I don't know if I've read this one.
Called Hollywood, and it's his. It's not an oral history, but it's his through his character of
Hank
Chinaski or whatever.
Hank Chinaski.
Yeah, it is his experience of writing the screenplay for the movie Barfly, and the making of that movie and stuff. But it's through the Charles Bukowski voice and. For me, it's the most fun Bukowski book because, first of all, I love the movie Barfly, and second, I like reading him. It's an interesting way. It's an interesting entry point into the Hollywood, which is just Charles Bukowski as his drunk character talking about trying to get a movie made or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's really funny, and it had like some stories that I hadn't heard before, but that are. Verified, that had talked about other ways where how Barbet Schroeder, the director, like went into the offices at Canon and was threatening. He's like had like a little turkey carver and was like, I will cut off my fingers if you don't let me make this movie.
Oh my gosh.
And stuff like that. And so, but also from Charles Bukowski's point of view, so it's like this crazy man or whatever, and it's like, and then the chapter ends with like, and then my wife and I drank 4 bottles of wine,
and I took medication for my hemorrhoids.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of
hemorrhoids in this one.
No, I think maybe that's why I like it more than some of the other ones. Yeah, not a lot of hemorrhoid talk. It's been a while since I read it, but I just remembered really, really loving this one. I think it's a solid Hollywood.
Cool.
It's called Hollywood, and it's his experience in Hollywood.
Man, I haven't read Bukowski in so long. Maybe I should read that.
Well, here you go. Read that one.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Cool.
All right. So now you have another book to put on your stack of stuff to read.
Yay.
So when you light those candles and
when I really just romance myself
and
get myself in the mood for a little reading.
There you go. All right. So we
turn on some jazz. Have a little glass of wine. That's how I have to do it.
Boy. I just throw on a movie I've seen 100 times and then read while that's on as the background noise.
Unreal.
Yeah, well, anyway, we hope that we've romanced you into wanting to read some of these books that we recommended today.
Let us know if you've read any of our book club recommendations or if you have any book club recommendations or just book recommendations in general because... Yeah. Kevin, you'll probably still be reading while you're not on the show, right?
I'm still here. Yeah,
so just email us.
I'll probably be reading more.
viva@scarecrow.com with your book recs.
Yeah, or pop them in the comments.
So for this next segment, it's one that you guys know and love.
What's your favorite?
It's my favorite. It's probably yours. Raunch versus
Rom.
So we should announce our winner from last round.
Oh yeah, what were they?
It was cheering section versus Drive Me Crazy.
Oh right, and who won?
Drive Me Crazy.
Okay.
Cheering section didn't have a chance. I would also have voted for Drive Me Crazy.
Yeah, you were not cheering. You were not in the cheering section.
I wasn't in the cheering section. We have 2 new competitors. Challengers. Some competition companions for you. In this corner of the ring, we have Cherry Hill High. 1977, directed by Alex E. Goulton. I can't read my writing. Alex E. Goitine. Right. What's in your side of the ring?
Okay.
Yeah.
And in this corner is the beloved by some classic rom-com.
Yeah.
The Wedding Singer.
If I get to know your name.
From 1998, directed by Frank Carracci, starring, well, you know.
You guys know.
You know.
I will go first.
Yes.
As usual, right? Do I go first
yeah,
usually?
Raunch versus
yeah,
Raunch.
Raunch
Comes first.
Yeah.
So.
And we have 2 minutes on the clock.
Yep.
And go. All right, so Cherry Hill High is about this group of girlfriends who just graduated high school and they are going on a bike trip through the countryside with one of their teachers. So they just graduated an all-girls school and it turns out they're all virgins. And they think Mrs. Woodruff, their teacher, is like a total like square, but it turns out she's also a little sex pot who supports their goal for all of them to lose their virginities over the summer in a competition. Since they're all hot, it has to be a competition because it's not just who can lose their virginity, it's who can do it the most creatively. So We have, throughout the summer, we have a girl who loses her virginity to a shark wrestler underwater in a shark pool. And the guy has a really cool Jaws beach towel. We have one girl who loses it to a motorcycle mystery person who turns out to be a girl. We have somebody who loses their virginity in a haunted house to a ghost who's a guy under a sheet. We have someone who loses their virginity during a race car race. This is what I wrote. Somebody loses it in a... Oh, no, that was the teacher. The teacher just has sex in a winery vineyard area, and they, like, feed each other grapes. They have sex, and the grapes are everywhere. Then one girl loses it to a guy dressed as a chicken in a huge fake nest behind curtain number 3 on the set of a live television show. And then the final girl loses it after a UFO landing, and she fucks an alien, but it turns out it's Larry, who's her boyfriend, who she's actually really in love with anyways. And it's basically like a really cool, like, all these girls like are very they have fun and they're friends.
So tell me when.
Let's go.
Okay, so The Wedding Singer is about a wedding singer named Robbie in 1985 for some reason. Really just so they can have 80s stuff in the movie. It's basically a Stranger Things syndrome where they're like, here's the thing that takes place in the 80s, so we can do 80s stuff constantly, but for no real reason. He works as a wedding singer, which is a guy who sings at weddings, and it's Adam Sandler, if you can believe it. And, he's fine. I liked his first album a lot when I was a teenager, so. He's going to get married, and he gets left at the altar by his girlfriend, who sucks. And so he's like, or his fiance, and he's like, oh man, I'm depressed and stuff. But he'd met this girl earlier named Julia, played by Drew Barrymore, the very charming Drew Barrymore, who is getting married to a guy who's a douchebag, of course. But then they become close friends, and her and Adam Sandler actually have pretty good chemistry together, despite Adam Sandler being Adam Sandler. So then that's basically the movie, is that you're like, these guys are going to get together, and when is that going to happen? But throughout, of course, there's all these misunderstandings, and oh no, does he like me? Does he like his ex-fiancée again? Whatever. And she's getting married, but should she be marrying this guy? And it turns out the guy's cheating on her and stuff, of course. And it ends with a whole climactic scene on an airplane where Billy Idol is there and stuff. And it's actually that scene's actually kind of cute. And and so then they end up together. And so what else? Oh, what else do I have to say about this? Oh, the best part of the movie is at the beginning, and then a little bit at the very end, which is that maybe best MVP actor of all time, Steve Buscemi, pops up for a second and is like the best part of the whole movie.
Okay.
All right.
Now we have our closing statements.
Closing statements, yeah.
This movie, although it is a raunch kind of sex comedy, is very fun and not very sleazy at all. It's about these girls who are having a really fun vacation. They all support each other, trying to have sex in the most creative environments, and it's never too lecherous or creepy, and men really only have very minuscule parts in this whole movie, which is kind of cool. It's like a lot of them just having this road trip. 2 more things. They have a very forward-thinking quote about virginity, where the teacher says virginity is as much a state of mind as a state of body, which I feel like is very ahead of the time, thinking of virginity as a social construct more than the physical construct. And there's 2 really cool, I mentioned the sick Jaws beach towel, but there was also a kind of cool towel at the beginning that said this girl's drying off after her shower, and it just says politics doesn't have to be a dirty business. And that's all it says on the beach towel, which I thought was kind of rad. I would compare it to kind of a 70s raunch-com Spice World movie. My
closing statements for The Wedding Singer are that okay, look, I didn't love this movie, but
you gotta fight for it.
I know, but it is in my corner. So I do like Drew Barrymore, although I think that it's the kind of thing where I'm like, I think she's better. I think she's when I watch it, I go oh, I wish this movie was better for her. There's a funny part in the middle of the movie where Adam Sandler has quit being a wedding singer and John Lovitz shows up as like this like sort of way douchier wedding singer guy, and there's a part where he's like
losing his mind. And I'm reaping all the benefits.
That's pretty good. But yeah, it's got a rapping granny, and so if that's something that you remember or like, then The Wedding Singer is for you.
All right, you guys, put in your votes. Comment below with your votes. Who are you going to vote for? Cherry Hill High in this corner of the ring?
Or The Wedding Singer?
Let's announce the winners next time since it's your final Raunch versus Raunch. So please get those votes
in. Get your votes in now.
Get your votes in now.
Now. Right now.
Raunch versus...
Wrong. There's a heart. I haven't had a chance to watch like too many new things, so I'm digging up some old favorites here.
Yay!
And this is just one of my favorite animated movies of all time. Just a movie that I think still is kind of almost not under the radar, but it's become kind of a classic, but it's like cult classic, and it's The Iron Giant. This has been a favorite of mine forever. I remember when I saw this, when it came out in 1999, and I was on vacation with my family in Vancouver, and it was like opening weekend. I was really excited for it, and I think I was one of like 6 people in this big old theater in Vancouver. And I was like, oh no, there's nobody here. But I was like, this movie is amazing. It's so good. Have you seen them?
Yeah, it's been a really long time. But also, I feel like we play it at work a lot. We play it at Scarecrow a lot, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big,
So it's like, I think I haven't seen it in full in a very long time, but I've definitely seen bits and pieces of it throughout the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like a, like I said, it's not like an under-the-radar movie, but I still feel like it's one that people like.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's Brad Bird's first movie and first feature film. He'd worked on The Simpsons before that and done the Amazing Stories episode Family Dog.
He's whizzing on the carpet, Dad.
Which is awesome. If you haven't ever seen that, look that up. And then this was his first movie, and then of course he did The Incredibles and Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation and Incredibles 2 and Tomorrowland, which I actually like despite it having problems or whatever.
Which one's Tomorrowland?
It's with George Clooney. It's
I don't even know.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
I will.
People don't generally like it, but I think it's pretty good. But I love this movie, and this movie is about a little kid named Hogarth who finds an iron giant.
Wow, my own giant robot. I am now the luckiest kid in America. This is unbelievable. This is the greatest discovery since, I don't know.
Is like this iron giant crashes into the bay near his town, Rockwell, Massachusetts, and I'm named after Norman Rockwell, of course. It takes place in like 1957, I think, right after Sputnik, the Russian space probe, had been launched. So then it involves, a bunch of, it's sort of like atomic hysteria of the time and government hysteria of, Russian invasion and stuff.
While you're snoozing in your wooded jammies back in Washington, we're wide awake and worried. Why? Because everyone wants what we have, Hogarth. Everyone. You think this middleman is fun, but who built it? The Russians, the Chinese, Martians, Canadians? I don't care. All I know is we didn't build it, and that's reason enough to assume the worst and blow it to kingdom come.
And the Iron Giant it's never really revealed where it came from or what's happening with it. He befriends it. It's sort of like E.T. He befriends this giant iron man, this giant metal man. And as the movie goes, it turns out like the metal man, like, oh, he has these capabilities as a weapon or whatever. And Brad Bird's pitch for the movie was, what if a gun had a soul and didn't want to be a gun? And that was his pitch for the movie.
That makes me really sad.
And I'll tell you something that'll make you even more sad real quick here.
This movie?
So this movie makes me sad. So there's a part in this movie that makes me cry out of context even, where he says Superman right before Well, I don't want. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it for you. But there's a part where he says, anyway, whoa, it's making me cry now.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, they become friends, and Hogarth is trying to teach him that. Meanwhile, there's this agent from the government that's sort of like trying to figure out what's going on, and they're trying to hide this. And Harry Connick Jr. plays this sort of beatnik hippie guy, named Dean, who he befriends, who does these metal sculptures, and then his mom is played by Jennifer Aniston, which is kind of weird, but it's good. It's a good voice job.
Well, I mean, it just sort of, it seems kind of slapped on. Not as thought out as this other piece.
You like that one?
Yeah.
There's a great documentary on here called
The Making of the Iron Giant.
The Giant's Dream, I think. And it's
Well,
like,
that's what it said.
it's all sort of about Brad Bird's, how he started in animation, and then the making of this movie, which was like Warner Brothers marketing was really bad for it. Like they just didn't know how to sell this movie, or didn't want to, or didn't do a good job, and it became kind of a cult hit on video, and now a lot of people know it, and it's become more of a classic, and Brad Bird has made Ratatouille and stuff, so everybody knows who he is now. At the time, they didn't, and so there's a great documentary on here, but it also talks, in the documentary, another reason that this movie spoke to him was, it's based on a book by Ted Hughes, who was the husband of Sylvia Plath, and she killed herself, and he wrote the book, The Iron Man, in part as for his kids to deal with the death of their mother.
Whoa, did not know that.
It had been in development in Warner Brothers with Pete Townsend to be a musical, but when they said like, hey, Brad Bird, you take this over, he was like, I don't want to do a musical, I don't think, I've got this other idea for the story. And part of the reason is because several years earlier, his sister had been shot to death by her husband.
Jesus
and so
Christ.
he kind of wanted to tell a story that was like an anti-gun kind of story. So
this movie really was born out of all this trauma.
Yeah, kind of.
Wow.
And for being such a charming movie, but also like it gives. I mean, you kind of see where that is in the movie, because the movie's very personal, very moving.
Has a lot of heart.
It is about he says,
I am not a gun.
It's my favorite Vin Diesel performance too, as the Iron Giant.
Huh.
Second favorite would be Groot.
Oh, so you like when Vin Diesel just isn't Vin Diesel?
I like him in Saving Private Ryan.
What about the Chronicles of Riddick?
I don't like Vin Diesel.
Pitch Black?
I don't like Vin Diesel in many movies.
I don't know if I do either.
Yeah,
We'll talk about this another time.
Well, this is a whole other conversation. But anyway, I just wanted to bring this up so that we could all get a little teary-eyed and feel sad a little, but also happy because the Iron Giant exists. And this Blu-ray looks amazing, and it just took a long time, but like they finally put like this documentary on here is really good about the making of, which is to Warner Brothers' credit, because they're not presented as like being like great. Iron Giant, one of my all-time favorite movies. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you haven't seen it in a while, watch it again. Get yourself a good cry.
Show it to your kids if you have them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to apologize to everyone in advance for this.
So my movie is this weird movie that came out last year that I had been fascinated by reading the plot of and decided to watch. It's called The Scary of 61st. And right off the bat, this cover is really good. The cover of the Blu-ray is really, really good. So this movie came out 2021, directed by Dasha Nekrasova, who also acts in it as one of the leads. And it's about these two girls. They're like millennials, kind of hipster New York girls who get an apartment on the Upper East Side. And the apartment's kind of weird.
But each room has a separate entrance.
Great. Addie, you can take this room.
But the rooms are connected?
No, they have separate locks right here on the doors.
Okay, but how does that work?
And then some woman shows up to the apartment and she's like,
something extremely sinister happened in this apartment. In your room.
What?
She claims to be a journalist, and she's like, do you know who lived here or who had this apartment before you? And they're like, no. And she's like, Jeffrey Epstein did. And they're like, oh, weird, gross, what? Like, And then she eventually kind of creates a relationship with one of the girls, and they start going down this crazy conspiracy, basically K-hole of the Jeffrey Epstein and the island and MK Ultra and all this stuff. And they are like going to the library and they're doing all this research.
The ornate red glyphs on the ground, fucking owl statues.
Moloch. It's like the god of ritualistic child sacrifice. Bohemian Grove type shit.
Bohemian Grove.
And they start drinking this water mixed with like speed or something, and they're like staying up super late and like really getting into all these conspiracies. Meanwhile, the other roommate is becoming possessed, demonically possessed by some sort of pedophile loving monster that it becomes obsessed with Prince Andrew. So meanwhile, she's like boarding herself up in like the basement of this townhouse and pasting up pictures of Prince Andrew everywhere and like just doing a completely unhinged performance. Very like gross physical, very like think of like Reagan in The Exorcist, and then think of like a pedophile loving like demonic like millennial girl in like in a fucking Upper East Side townhouse. This is the weirdest fucking movie, and I'm not saying I loved it, I'm just saying it has to be talked about. So as these two girls are going like deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole about the conspiracy theory, and then the other girl is becoming demonically possessed by a pedophile loving monster, just things really in their lives start to fall apart. And that's pretty, there's nothing really else I can talk about here because I don't want to give away like how it ends, but it's so fucking weird. The dialogue is like really stilted and like strange feeling, but it kind of adds to this whole like bizarre dream-like atmosphere.
Are you kidding me?
No. I hate it when you get like this.
Like what?
Hey, hand soap, honeysuckle or oat blossom.
I'm not so keen on honeysuckle.
Like what?
Like shrill and annoying. Just relax.
Don't tell me to relax, okay?
You want to live with a hostage? Is that what you want? Does that make you feel good?
Fuck you.
It's filmed on 16 millimeters, so it's really, really beautiful. It's like a gorgeous film, but it's so strange. Some critics are like comparing it to like Polanski's like Repulsion and stuff like that, but millions of miles away. Repulsion is one of my favorite movies. This is not that good, but it's such a strange focus to be like, we're gonna get this apartment. It's gonna be Jeffrey Epstein's like torture house that he had or whatever.
Wild.
Yeah, it's super wild. They played this at the Beacon. I remember when it first came out. I didn't get to see it there, but I was like, that's where I heard about it first. And then I haven't heard anything about it since, so I really wanted to give it a shot. And if you're looking for something really unhinged and weird, with actually really committed performances by all three of these women, check out The Scary of 61st.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
Sweet, you guys gonna get a tree?
Greg, what is this tree obsession?
What? It's beautiful.
Switching gears entirely, I guess. If you haven't heard, there's a new movie called Elvis that's out about Elvis Presley. Baz Luhrmann directed it. You haven't seen it yet?
Nope, but I'm excited because I like Baz Luhrmann a lot.
Yeah, and it's not, I would say it's not his best movie, but it's not his worst movie. And
What's his best movie?
I liked it. Probably Strictly Ballroom or Moulin Rouge.
It's Romeo plus Juliet, but okay.
Okay, well, this is a whole other conversation. The point is that I went and saw the Elvis movie, and Austin Butler as Elvis is great. He's actually really good.
Was he like a kid from Disney?
I have no idea who this guy is. As far as I know, I've only seen him in the Elvis movie, and he's really good. Okay. He's really good. Tom Hanks is terrible in it. So I saw that, and it inspired us to watch some other Elvis stuff. I found this Elvis documentary, and this one's called Elvis, That's the Way It Is. Baz Luhrmann definitely watched this before he watched the movie, because this is all about his, like, it's sort of a documentary about his show in Vegas, which
this is the second Elvis, because I talked about the Carpenter Elvis.
I know. And we're not. I don't think either of us are like
big Elvis
fans or whatever. It's like a very verite, hanging out with Elvis and his gang while they're recording some songs. And then the whole last section is just Elvis's show at the Imperial.
With this iconic jumpsuit.
With this iconic jumpsuit. And it's 1970, I think, so it's before sort of Elvis sort of had his, like, downturn. So it's not quite like where you're like, ooh, yikes.
That's kind of like Elvis. Where the Carpenter fictional one stopped was also at this performance.
Okay. Yeah. Like I've never been like the biggest Elvis fan where I'm like obsessed with this stuff, and I haven't really seen a lot of Elvis movies. And I like Elvis. Yeah. I love a lot of the songs.
Yeah.
I grew up with them, and I love the music.
So don't take it away.
Watching this, you're like, holy shit, I want to see this guy perform live. I get why people are obsessed with Elvis. The magnetism. Yeah, it's throughout the movie. Even when he's just hanging out with his guys, like recording music, and he kind of like looks around and smiles and like laughs. You're like,
I wouldn't say that. See, I'll cut that out. They won't leave it in. You can't say big ass on this film.
God damn, this guy is magnetic.
Caught in a trip. I can't walk out because I love too much, man. Won't you know? Caught in. I can't walk because I love it too much.
This is a guy who was born to entertain, you know? And if you think that Elvis didn't just go through the whole audience and kiss all the women, well, you don't know. You don't know.
You don't know Elvis.
Because that's what happens. There's pop stars and there's totally famous people and stuff, but there's not something that's like galvanizing like Elvis anymore. People are like having heart attacks from seeing this guy come out on stage or whatever. And he's really funny and fun.
That's really this guitar doing that.
He's working so hard, and you kind of go like, I think that's a little bit what fucking killed Elvis. He's putting too much of himself. He's putting like 10 Elvis worth of a guy into one guy.
I watched like one of his final performances on YouTube or something, and it was like, he still was like amazing.
Yeah.
But like he was just like sweating, like you could tell, and he was like shaking, but his voice was like still so amazing, and it was just like so tragic and sad.
This is before that, so so I highly recommend. I think you should. Since you watched the Carpenter,
I probably should, huh?
You should watch this, Elvis. That's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
Lunch. Your shoes. I need another pair of pants. You didn't. Blessed to see that my pants.
Okay, so I also have a documentary.
What?
Yeah. And my documentary is Werner Herzog's Little Dieter Needs to Fly. Which I'm assuming you've seen?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe I mentioned it last time. I just finished Ken Burns' The Vietnam War, which I loved. Okay. So I've had the Vietnam War on the brain.
Wow, cool.
I've heard so many people talk about this documentary, and I've seen Rescue Dawn like multiple times.
Which is also great.
Which is also super good.
Also directed by Werner Herzog.
Which I also want to revisit. But I hadn't seen the documentary that movie was based on. This came out in 1997. It talks about the story of Dieter Dengler, who Christian Bale's character was in Rescue Dawn. This guy grew up in Germany post World War II, like just basically in the poverty and the crumbling cities of that, which I feel like is why Herzog was also kind of attracted to him. He had kind of a kinship with his subject, so it worked out like really, really well. Dieter really wanted to be a pilot.
I never wanted to go to war. I only got into this because I had one burning desire, and that was to fly.
And since they didn't have an army at the time, he decided to go to America. And also he was very, very poor. And so he was like, this will be, he said he moved there with 30 cents in his pocket, basically. He joined the Air Force, and they just put him as a line cook for a really long time. And he was like, this is definitely not what I wanted to do. He left and he went to college, and then he re-enlisted in the Navy. And then that's when the Vietnam War happened. And they were just like, oh, here you go.
But from the air, Vietnam didn't seem real at all. For Dengler, it was like a grid on a map. He had suddenly found himself not only a pilot, but a soldier caught up in a real war.
They flew him out to be a pilot, and he went on a mission and was shot down over Laos.
It's the last shot of my airplane when I took off for Vietnam.
And this is how the airplane looked 2 hours later.
And taken as a prisoner of war, imprisoned for 6 months. This documentary is basically him telling the story to Werner Herzog, and also they go back to Laos where he recreates moments of his imprisonment with local Vietnamese locals who, you know, say that they'll play the military people, which is really like weird and unnerving, kind of, because they're like all there, like with actual guns.
My legs, my ankles would be tied together with a rope. The rope would go down, there would be a peg on the ground, that's where I would be tied up. They would feed me up here. Then when the sleeping time came, I would then lay down.
Around Dieter, who was imprisoned, and Dieter's just like telling this, he's such a great storyteller too. He's just like very impassioned, and he has a lot of like humor and wit in these terrible stories that he's telling about his like torture and imprisonment when he was there for 6 months. And then just surrounding him are very like stone-faced, and probably because they don't understand a lot of the language too, but just like Vietnamese surrounding him who are being the locals in the story. There's just a lot of weird emotions going on. But for 6 months he was imprisoned, and then he planned an escape. They show a map, and he like shows how he did this escape with his people. And him and one other guy eventually made it out into the jungle, where they kind of hid out for 20 days or something, until his friend was like cut in the leg and then his head chopped off by a machete.
He hit Twain in the upper leg. The blade was deeply buried in it. Twain screamed. He reached down, he grabbed his leg, screaming, and with the next swipe, Dwayne's head came off.
Which is really, really sad, because he was the closest person, like, during that 6 months I talked to. Like, I said more to him than I had said to anybody, and like, he was my confidant. He's played by Steve Zahn in Rescue Dawn. That's right. You know we're big Zahn heads over here, so. But anyway, just the way he tells this, or he insists he's not a hero, all this stuff. Well, he was eventually found after being in the jungle for 23 days by this Air Force pilot. I think he was just like flying around and saw his SOS with the white parachute he was using. He was like 85 pounds. So basically this documentary he tells his story of how horrific all of this was, and how he had his escape, and what it meant to him to really just want to be a pilot, and how he still loves flying, and he became like a tester pilot for private aircraft. It ends with him in this field, or what do you call it when it's like a kind of a hangar?
A hangar.
But not enclosed, it's like open.
Oh.
Whatever.
An airfield?
Yeah, maybe. Is that a word?
Yeah.
I'm not a pilot, you guys.
A plane yard.
A plane yard.
And I brought you here to show you all these airplanes. I mean, this is a heaven for pilots. I mean, just look around. In every direction, there's just miles and miles and miles of airplanes.
And then it pans out, and there's just thousands and thousands, and then the movie ends, and it's so powerful, it's so good. This guy was like such a charismatic storyteller, and after everything he's been through, he also opens with like showing his art and how he paints like pictures of like open doors, and he like designed his whole house to be like super open with all these windows.
As you see, when you come into my house right away, there are pictures of open doors. It's been always very important to me. It gives me a sense of freedom.
It's very sad, but it's also like really cool that he has like made something of himself and like could tell a story in such like a candid way. Check out Little Dieter Needs to Fly.
While I was in prison, all we did talk about is food. We talked about deep freezes and refrigerators, stacking them up, and I decided I'm coming back home and I'm going to build a restaurant. A German-type restaurant, and I'm going to stack it up and never be hungry again.
We have something that is not Beavis and Butthead to talk about.
We do. What are we talking? We got a dog movie.
Popee!
Wow, we're just jumping in?
Popee! Look at Popee.
You got Popee.
Popee's more of an idea and a feeling, really, in this movie, though.
It's true. It really is. It really is. What is Popee?
So Popee was made in 2000. Why did I say it like that? I don't know. 2002. 2002.
Yeah.
Directed by Kim Ji-hyun. And it's like a half fictional narrative and half documentary kind of mix mash.
Yeah, it's a documentary narrative film hybrid kind of thing. It's weird.
It is weird, but it kind of works, I guess.
It does. It kind of works.
I kind of wish they had kept to just the documentary. But whatever. They kind of needed to zhuzh it up a little, you know?
I would say 100% kind of works.
Yeah, 100% kind of works. It follows this guy who lives with his mom.
Who's the director.
And his family dog, Popee, who's named after Korean toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
Which is cute. Dies kind of, not spontaneously, kind of unexpectedly, gets sick really quickly. And then half the movie is him and his mom kind of telling the story of Popee having passed or whatever. And then the other half is a documentary where he goes around and interviews his friends and random people about their relationship with their dogs, current and past, and the emotional impact they've had on their lives.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
And this has been Viva Physical Media. We'll see you next time, you guys.
I mean, that's it, though.
That's it.
But it's weird because it's like some of the stories are good and some of them are sad and some of them are...
Yeah, they're all different. It all just kind of shows. And then they also like bring up a bunch of different questions, kind of like cultural, societal dog questions that that were very interesting, seeing kind of a Korean response to it and contrast to what we would say now, like questions about like spaying and neutering your dog and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it was kind of, the doctor they were interviewing was kind of like, no, I'm not 100% for it.
Yeah.
But he's like, but it's the law, or it's whatever, so I'll do it.
수술이 동물들의 본성을 억누르는 것이라는 거에 대해서는 어떻게 생각하세요?
네, 저도 동물의 본성을 억제한다는 뜻은 반대지만 애완동물은 사람과 같이 사는 동물이기 때문에 사람과 어울리는 행동을 해야 됩니다. 이 중성화 수술의 목적은 사람과 어울리는 행동을 할 수 있는 확률을 상당히 높여주는 수술이 되겠습니다.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, oh wow, you're not for spaying and neutering dogs, okay? Because I feel like that's something that America has always been.
Oh yeah, for sure,
pushing, especially on The Price is Right. I don't know if you watched The Price. When I watched The Price is Right. When I watched The Price is Right as a kid, every episode ended with Bob Barker going.
Bob Barker reminding you help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
Bob Barker reminding you help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Bye, buddy.
This is Bob Barker ending my last show, reminding you to help control the pet population. Spay or neuter your pets today. So long, everybody.
You think that's because his last name is Barker?
There's a very small part of the movie.
Very small.
And then a lot of it's like reenactments of him with this dog, Popee. That is not the dog Popee.
I wonder who this dog was.
I don't know, but it's a dog. Popee apparently was a little white dog like this.
Yeah, they said he was the first purebred dog in their house, and his little legs were weak, so he always slid on the floor. Also, I think the translation for this was like a little off.
Not great.
It was not great.
Yeah, the subtitles were not perfect all the time, so it was like, you're kind of retranslating it as you read it.
So they bring in Popee, where Popee acts a little weird one day, and the kid, he's like 20-something or whatever.
He's an adult filmmaker at this point.
Who's just like playing video games in his mom's house where he lives.
I think he lives with his mom. I don't know. That's cultural.
But also that's cultural.
Yeah.
Whatever. So he's like, should we take Popee to the hospital? And his mom's like, no, let's wait. Also, tomorrow's a holiday. Let's wait an extra day. And then they take Popee to the hospital, and the vet is like, very abrasively, like, the virus is taking over Popee's body. You should have brought him in yesterday. It's too late now. He's going to die. Which is like the worst thing you can hear.
Because then it's like, then the guy's like, well, we should have taken him in yesterday. And she's like, it was a holiday. What are you going to do?
Yeah. And so they do have to put Popee to sleep. And they like bring up, the son is really upset because the mom starts referring to Popee as the dog. He goes, well, what if when you die, mom, I refer to you as person instead of my mom?
뽀삐였어. 뽀삐가 왜 그냥 개야? 내가 그럼 엄마 죽으면 그냥 사람 죽었다 그러면 엄마는 기분 좋겠어?
왜 개 죽은 거 하고 엄마 죽은 거하고 비교해 이놈아?
이 나쁜 놈아.
And she was not seeing it that way. But then also there's
But she did love Popee.
But there's also that because when the movie ends with a shot of her at the shrine, and then leaving the little grave marker, and it ends with the grave marker for Popee at the shrine and stuff. So like she did care, but she doesn't show it. I don't know. It's a weird movie to talk about because it's hard because it's kind of jumping back and forth.
Because there's not really a story. So
yeah.
I did this new fun way of taking notes this time.
Oh, good.
You want to hear about it?
Sure.
Instead of taking notes as I watched the thing, I recorded voice memos on my phone, and then later I listened to myself on them, which was kind of funny, and then I wrote them down.
Was that better?
I kind of liked it because I feel like I could I wasn't as pressured to like be taking notes as I watched it. I can just kind of be like, whoa, Popee like did this thing, and then I can like listen to it and then take the best from that and put it into the notes.
Okay.
So it's this weird new thing I'm trying out. I just want to let you guys know. Thanks for the support.
Cool.
So we learn about a few different dogs. Talking about Popee's not being like neutered or whatever.
Yeah.
They do mention that Popee had a lot of puppies, a lot of babies, and they talked about how proud they were seeing all these puppies that looked like Popee around town.
Because these dogs are just running around free. And Popee, you don't see a collar on these dogs either. So Popee's just running around this Korean neighborhood.
But the fact that they're like,
knocking other dogs
that they're
off.
like, we're proud because they don't even know for sure, but they're like, we see a lot of dogs that look a lot like Popee. And so we can probably imagine that Popee was getting down with these other dogs. So that was funny.
And this is him talking to random friends about their dog stories. There's a really long, sad story this girl tells about getting a dog at a pet store and then it like died.
Oh, she was the actress.
Yeah, and then
she was the actress who couldn't cry during a scene until someone showed her a picture of her old dog. And then she cried, and then it interviewed her, and she told the story that Kevin was saying.
About the pup, where it was a puppy even that she got at this pet store, and then like it was sick immediately.
Probably
and
had
died
parvo or whatever that puppy disease is that puppies have.
There's this whole reenactment where she's yelling at the.
And she's like, you sold me a sick puppy, you have to pay for some of the hospital bills or whatever.
It was just all these bills that piled up and stuff.
And then she got a ticket on her car or something.
Yeah.
She like parked and got a ticket. It was a really sad story.
I don't know why I'm laughing. It
was just like a bizarre kind of slice of life. It's like one of those things where you don't really know what story people will have about their dog until you kind of ask them,
Yeah.
And then we see a footage from this dog named Shiki's birthday party, which was very cute. He blew out the candles and everything.
Yep, that's right.
I'm definitely gonna have a birthday party for Louise when that time comes.
Excellent.
Have you been to a dog birthday party?
I have not been to a dog birthday party. What happened at it?
It was just cool. It was just cool. It was just like some dogs and like little. It looked like the movie, like dogs' little birthday hats, like dog cake, and like just some decorations and presents. They asked some questions like, do you think dogs know their names?
Well, the last part of the movie, there's like all this. He's kind of interviewing friends, and then there's sort of these like reenactments of stuff. There's a part where he sits in the chair where Popee used to sit, and they say that dogs always sit in the place where
they can see everything.
They can get the most view or whatever, and so he kind of leaned down into like this. He did this and was kind of like,
this is what Popee saw.
Looking around the room, like this is what Popee saw, and that's kind of cute. But then like the last like 10 minutes was my favorite part, where he's just interviewing random people,
random questions
about dogs, like dog owners about their dogs and about dogs, and I was kind of like. I wish this was the whole movie.
기분이 좋은지 어떻게 아세요?
눈빛 보고 알죠. 눈이 많이 좀 촉촉해지는 걸 느끼거든요.
귀여워져요. 깜찍해져요. 모습 자체가 달라져요. 막 돌아요. 마당을.
But that leads to dog questions like, do you think
dogs know their names? And there's this one woman interviewed who we learned earlier, she adopted a dog. She always really wanted a really smart dog, so she adopted a dog and named her Smarty. But then it turns out that dog was not very smart. And she just kind of says that, and then they like go back to her answering these interview questions, and then one of them was like, do dogs know their names? And the girl's just like, Smarty does not know their name. And it's just like...
She talks about how dumb this dog is.
Smarty, his name's Smarty. I don't know, I thought it was really cute. But other people were like, of course my dog knows their names. And then this one couple had 2 golden retrievers, which are In my brain, golden retrievers are like dumb dogs.
The puppies or the other? Or
the two puppies that like do not know their names.
No.
And they're like, yeah, our dogs know their name. They're like calling them and they're just like, okay. They just like run off screen.
Like, he's not coming right now.
But he's just distracted.
He was distracted by something. And you're like, those dogs, I don't know.
Those are dumb dogs.
Those dogs are stupid.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It brought up something that happened to me recently. I was going to a baseball game, and I was outside of Uwajimaya, which is like an Asian market in Soto International District area of Seattle. And there was a St. Bernard walking with its parents, its owners, and they were carrying grocery bags, and the St. Bernard was carrying a bag of baby arugula in its mouth. Like, he had a job. Like, he was grocery shopping with them. Anyways, that got brought up because I think there's a shot of a dog grocery shopping or something in this movie, but it was really cute. So I had to mention that. I don't know. I think that's all I had on Popee.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a sweet movie.
It's a cute little movie, and it's weird because you found this in like, just randomly in the Korean section.
Yeah.
Like, you looked at it and like, oh, this looks like a dog movie, and we read the back and like, yeah,
why not?
It is.
And that goes to, it shows how cool being in Scarecrow is, and like physical media, and like browsing around. No one told us about Popee.
And I think our reviews of this on Letterboxd are
the
like
only
the
ones.
only first 2 reviews of Popee on Letterboxd.
Yeah, so track down Popee, rent it from us, rent by mail if you want to watch Popee, and add your reviews to Letterboxd.
It's a cute little movie. It's not like my favorite like of the.
And it's not really sad.
It's
It's sad a little bit, but it's not like a really like gut punching sad, and it's interesting culturally as well. Yeah. And
definitely.
yeah, I'm happy that we saw it
for sure. I'm glad you just randomly found Popee while you were just looking at other movies or whatever. Yeah.
How many paws would you give Popee?
Popee? I give it 3 paws.
Who? Popee?
I give it 3 paws.
I'll give Popee 3 too.
Because I think that it's like I want to give it a little more, but it's kind of just it's a little formless.
It doesn't blow me away. Popee does not blow me away.
Yeah.
It's not like this was fucking Los Reyes or anything.
No,
you know what I mean? But Popee in its own right was kind of like a humble little little passion project of a person who loved his dog.
Oh, and I like that.
Yeah, me too.
I like that. People should make documentaries about their dogs when they die.
Yeah.
Anyway, Popee.
Popee.
So coming up next
is your final dog movie.
My final dog movie. And I picked one that is thematically appropriate, but also a movie that I remember watching several times when I was a kid. And so I was like, oh, I'll do this one. I haven't seen it since I was probably for 30 years or something. And it's The Incredible Journey.
Now, from Walt Disney, master of the unique, comes one of the most unusual and exciting adventures of our time, The Incredible Journey. Starring 3 of the most unlikely, the most incredible companions ever teamed for adventure on the motion picture screen.
So if you don't know what this is, you've probably seen Homeward Bound.
The Incredible
Journey. And this is what this was based on.
Yeah, and so this is the original The Incredible Journey.
And I've never seen it.
Because, I'm going on an incredible journey soon, and so I figured that would be appropriate
to do
The Incredible Journey.
That's you?
Mm-hmm.
That's Sophie. Who's that?
That's the car, I guess.
That's the car.
That's the car we're in, I guess. The boxer's the car.
So the 90s Homeward Bound was like one of my favorites growing up.
Yeah.
And I almost want to do that. Maybe I'll make Matt watch that with me or something. But
and I've watched that
never
one
actually seen this original one, so I'm really curious.
This one doesn't have it's not like voiceover.
Yeah.
There's not like the voiceover thing where they're like, oh man, I'm Michael J. Fox and I'm a dog now, or whatever. This is like just as a narrator and these animals like let loose in the Canadian wilds.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch it because it's something that I've never seen. So next time, tune in for The Incredible Journey to send Kevin off on his own incredible journey. Oh my God. Okay, episode 43 coming to a close. Anything in that bucket?
There's not. Well, actually, there's a Pokemon sticker.
Ooh, it's like a high quality sticker.
It really is.
But it's also like covered in hair.
Yeah, it's so weird. Well, anyway.
Do you want to keep it on the bottom
just keep it in there.
Okay.
That's where it lives. Anyway. Fun.
Second to last episode. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I mean, I don't know. It's fine. I feel fine.
This is your last chance to talk to Kevin ever. Just kidding. To send him anything to read mailbag-wise, viva@scarecrow.com or 5030 Roosevelt Way, Northeast Seattle, Washington, 98105.
We'll be doing a full Baconator episode for episode 44.
I'm already hungry for it. Like, comment, subscribe, share on your social medias. Comment below your Raunch versus Rom
for sure,
winner, please.
We want to know who the winner. We need to have the winner by next episode.
Yeah.
Check out our podcast, Scarecrow Radio. And check out Mark Steiner's show,
Soundtrack Cinema.
Thank you.
If this is your first episode, be like, hey.
Yeah.
We have our letterbox, which has all of the movies we've talked about on our show. We have that list linked below, our 2 letterbox. Come visit the store if you're around the Seattle area, or if you want to still rent stuff from us, but you're not in Seattle, we do have an awesome rent by mail program.
Yep. I guess until next time.
Wait.
July
28th, bingo, Beacon, be there, you guys, not to be missed. Seriously, once in a lifetime opportunity. And we will end this episode saying Viva Physical Media. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
볼 때마다 오니까요.
그래.
자기들 관심 있을 때는 딴 데 가지만